Nothing beats figure skating for elegance, beauty and strength. Good skaters are athletes and artists combined. Strong and fearless, moving with effortless grace. Jumps and spins perfectly executed while capturing the mood of the music. Penny and Nick have lived a lifetime on skates with the Olympic Games on their mind. With Pyeongchang 2018 just around the corner, they were entering the qualifying season in the best shape of their lives. But in a split second, a potentially career-ending injury snatched their dreams away. But through all the pain, they never gave up. And now they are about to make their comeback at the Nabelhorn Trophy event in Germany. It's their last chance to qualify for the 2018 Olympics. They're about to find out whether all their effort and commitment has been enough. Penny Coombs and Nick Buckland are Britain's premier ice dance couple. They first danced together in 2005, and for the past 4 years they have been in the world's top 10.
I started skating because I always used to prance around and do ballet when I was younger, and my mum's friend had taken her grandchildren ice skating and they didn't like it, so the opportunity came up for my mum to buy the skates off her friend and take me, so that's what she did.
My grandparents both ice skated. My granddad was a speed skater and my grandma did ice shows, so I was taken to the ice rink as a small child and it's just been a way of life ever since.
Penny is very small, but I have a big heart. I care a lot about people, and I think I'm brave, strong, passionate.
Nick is extremely focused, almost obsessive in certain ways, perfectionist. Sometimes it's hard to switch off. I have to actually make myself go and do different things to try and distract myself from thinking of skating because I obsess about it so much.
They've already won medals at European Championships and represented Great Britain at the Winter Olympics in Vancouver 2010 and Sochi 2014. But at 28 years of age, they are reaching their peak, and their sights are firmly set on the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang in February 2018.
We're not the most talented team out there, but I feel like we work really well together and we work really hard, so we make up for a lot of that through our work ethics.
It's nice to share this with somebody. You get to know a person very well, and we're lucky that we get on so well, and for me it's special to be able to share that with him.
The couple moved to the United States in 2009 to train with two-time Olympic champion Yevgeny Platov, and are currently working with internationally renowned coaches Igor Spielband and Adrian Lender.
The reason we moved to the States was because we qualified for the Olympics in 2010. It almost became a really big deal then, and it was kind of like we have to take this seriously, and I think people that we trained against were full-time athletes essentially, and they would be able to train all day, have kind of unlimited ice time. That's why we made the decision.
Penny and Nick train for 5 hours a day on and off the ice. and their regime includes specialist sessions in ballet and acrobatics. During the summer months, their training is at its most intense as they prepare new routines for the forthcoming season. Their training is carefully planned to peak at the big competitions.
Ice skating is probably I would say one of the most difficult sports in the world, in that you have to be so good at so many different things. It's not like you just have to have, a great lung capacity and a certain body type.
When you're an ice dancer, you have to combine the dancing and the technical side of things. For me, I find the dancing side a little bit harder. I initially think very technically first, and I have a logical brain, and I like to know exactly where I need to be and where my foot needs to be. So that's how I do it first, and then once I'm comfortable with my feet, I can then think about my upper body. I know some people can just do all the jazzy stuff straight away, but that's not how I do it.
I think nowadays as well, it's very much about being a great rounded athlete at the same time as being a dancer, essentially, with the sport being so much harder than it was. Whereas it used to be a little bit more of an art, I think the athlete's kind of sporty side has been brought in a little bit more. I think that's what makes it so unique, is the fact that you have to make it aesthetically pleasing, yet scientifically, and the heart rates that you skate at and what your body is going through. Because I was watching swimming yesterday, this is not disrespecting swimming at all, but the commentators were saying his legs must be burning right now. I would say nobody would ever say that in the middle of a figure skating performance.
But
our legs are
burning.
They are. But you have to do it. People go, oh, it's so beautiful,
And if we were to get that comment at the end of our program, oh, you look tired, that would have such a negative connotation. Like, we've just given it everything. Like, yes, we're tired, but it's almost not accepted in our sport. Whereas if you're gonna, you're running a race and you're tired at the end, they're like, oh, they're giving it everything. They've given it so much. It just has that different way of looking at it.
That's why, that's why you do training.
Yes.
So it doesn't look tired. It's a performance, and it's aesthetically pleasing the whole way through. So.
Yes, that's the goal.
Choreography has a huge impact on judges' scoring in competition, so skaters also need to be world-class dancers.
There's a lot of similarities between dancing on ice and off ice, but at the same time, a lot of differences too.
I feel like one of the important things that an ice dancer has to be is very versatile. So we have to go from year to year, from Latin, like it is this year, to paso doble, to hip hop, to tango, to waltz, to polka, and we have to pick up and interpret those different styles. And it's something that we're given, and we have no choice, whereas the free skaters have a little bit more freedom in what they choose to perform. You can be technically a great skater and have everything down and be really smooth and soft, but at the end of the day, if you can't do that and move your body and have a smile on your face when your legs are burning, like, it's not going to look good. And I think that's what ice dancing is. It's not purely technical. And I think that's why it can be so hard, because we have the technical elements, it's very fiddly. We have to have our feet in precise positions, and we have to nail certain edges, and it has to be clean, but at the same time we have to do it like this.
So begins a creative process in which Penny and Nick work closely with experts in each different genre of dance.
You would generally get an expert in that area in, and you would perhaps have some lessons and get a feel for the dance first. Over that time you might find out some music that the experts brought in, or you'd be looking yourself, and then you generally get an on-ice choreographer that's got a skating background.
And then when you get all the steps down, you then bring the expert back and you say, make it look more Latin, and add a few arms in here and there, which is sometimes the hard part, I think, because sometimes you get so used to doing the steps a certain way to then, lift this arm over here instead of that arm and things. That's where the program really develops, but it does need that spice. We play to our strengths, and I think it's important to do that. I think sometimes you see a lot of top teams and their choreography perhaps isn't quite as good as it could be, or stronger skaters will not do as well because their programs aren't as entertaining. And I think we've seen a lot in the past where if you get the crowd behind you and they appreciate it, they can definitely kind of boost those judges' scores by kind of getting in the moment with you.
I think if your choreography and it goes well to the music and there's an entertainment factor almost, something that the audience can appreciate, I think that can really go in your favour.
You get more back from the audience than you do from the judges if you try and doing everything for them. They can't clap for you when you do a good lift or anything like that. They have to be very impartial, and sometimes they might give you a little smile back or something, but to actually kind of be skating around, and I actually like it when we're at Skate America and those competitions because they have the audience really low and they're right there and you can really feel their energy.
The challenges figure skaters face on the road to success are financial as well as physical. Skaters do not receive appearance fees. They have to pay to enter competitions, as well as covering their own travel and accommodation expenses. There is prize money for those who do well at major competitions like the Europeans, Worlds or Grand Prix events. But the reality for skaters is that they need funding in order to pay for the training and equipment needed to compete at the top level. Penny and Nick are funded by UK Sport, which makes it possible for them to live their dreams.
So traditionally there's 4 different disciplines in ice skating. You have your singles, so men's singles and ladies singles. And then you have pair skating and ice dance, and those 2 are the ones that are partnered disciplines. So the pairs skating is essentially 2 single skaters skating together, so they do the jumps and the spins and lifts above the head. And then ice dance is more about dancing on the ice. It's a little bit more about the linking footwork and the art of ice skating.
Skaters perform 2 routines in each competition, one short and one free program, in which skaters are judged on technical and artistic excellence. The technical section is marked objectively, on a predetermined series of lifts and elements. Here, the judges are looking closely at how well skaters cope with the level of difficulty of the elements. The second section is all about artistic presentation. In this section, judges are looking for things like skating skills, choreography, musical interpretation, and transitions between elements. The equipment used in figure skating reflects the sport's balance between athleticism and artistry. This especially applies to the skates, which are made to the specification of each individual skater. Ice dancing boots are different to those used by single skaters. Single skaters need taller boots to give more support for jumps. Ice dancing boots are smaller, allowing more movement so the dancer can point the feet. Boots are made of very hard leather to give protection to feet and ankles, which are placed under huge amounts of stress. The blades are also different. Single skaters use longer blades with a pronounced toe pick for jumps, whilst ice dancing blades are shorter, with a small toe pick to enable tighter turns and more difficult steps. Costumes are a very important part of the sport and can help gain marks for artistic impression. They need to complement the style of music and choreography, and in a fiercely competitive sport where every point counts, a great costume can make the difference between winning and losing.
First you choose your music and then you get costumes designed at the beginning of each season.
I think we I look a lot on Google and Pinterest and get ideas for different things. I'd say we're both heavily involved in our costumes and how they're designed. We're quite particular over what we want. We pick material, we pick colour, we pick designs, and maybe say, I want that shoulder and that neckline and that back and that skirt, and it'll be a mishmash of everything, and you say, right, make that for me, and off they go.
Ice dancing is a graceful sport and seems almost effortless when everything's going to plan. But with the sport's governing body constantly raising the level of difficulty required to score top marks, skaters have to keep pushing their limits, and it only takes one small element in a routine to go wrong for disaster to follow.
About a year ago, Nick and I were practicing one of the lifts that we created in our free dance, and it didn't quite fit the difficult criteria for the level, so we needed to add a difficult entry onto it. So we tried to do almost like a lasso type jump up onto the shoulder, and I just overdid it and ended up falling off Nick's shoulder all the way back, and I landed directly on my kneecap, and my patella sprung open into 8 pieces, and some of it was up here and some of it was down there, so it almost looked like this bone had come out there and that bone had come out there. It was a mess, but it was. I don't really remember that much of it. It's very spotty. I remember my throat hurting from screaming. So I ended up flying back home to England. They wired all the pieces back together again.
Because of the injury, you had to spend quite a long time literally doing nothing, so that process was quite tough at first. I think it was about 3 months before you could start moving it.
It was really challenging. I think when I first did it, I kind of put a brave face on it and didn't really accept that it was as bad as it was. People kept telling me it was a serious injury, and I would get mad at them when they used that word, because I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm superhuman. I can do it in half the time, the doctors say. But that really wasn't the case. I was stuck in this leg brace because I had some complications with nerve damage, and I just woke up one morning, and having been doing just bending and straightening with my leg was the only exercise, and straight leg lifts. One day I woke up and I couldn't do it, and that was really challenging for me mentally, and I was a bit grumpy at that point. I sort of fell out with skating, and I didn't want to watch it, and I didn't want to talk about it.
The fall happened during summer training in 2016, just before the start of Olympic qualifying season. Qualification for the Olympic Games comes by competing in the World Championships the year before. Skaters finishing in the top 10 automatically get a spot for their country at the Olympics. For those failing to achieve qualification at Worlds, there is one last chance at the Nabelhorn Trophy in Oberstdorf, Germany in September, where skaters finishing in the top 5 get the last remaining Olympic spots. After 4 months of rehab, Penny was ready to return to the ice. The couple planned their comeback to coincide with the World Championships and hopefully Olympic qualification. But the recovery process hit a snag.
As I began training more and more, my knee started to get more and more painful, and the wires in my knee had got caught in the patella tendon, and I had to make the decision whether or not I wanted to try and skate at Worlds and get that Olympic qualification, or whether I wanted to have the surgery now and just shoot for the Oberstdorf qualification and get the spot there.
They decided to miss the World Championships so Penny could have surgery to remove the wires from her knee. They now have just one chance to qualify for the Olympics in the final event at Oberstdorf.
It's a hard decision to make, but I'm happy I did it. After my surgery, I wasn't in any pain. I remember waking up crying because I was so happy that it was the first time I'd slept in 7 months.
It was hard because, you see how difficult, what a hard time you had. I felt a little bit in limbo because I was fine. It was very weird because I was fine throughout the injury, and obviously you were in such bad shape. I went back to the States in preparation for kind of your return to get myself fit again, because I knew I would need to be as strong as I possibly could be to help you back.
As I came back to full-time training, doing run-throughs and bigger sections, my knee would get too tired by the time it was Friday. I do a hard Monday, Tuesday, an easier Wednesday, and then I make Thursday, Friday now, which is great. I wear a knee pad on my knee because even though it's healed, if I were to fall, I'm sure it would.
Sensitive. It's definitely sensitive.
It would hurt.
We're also technically still in the recovery process, even though we're doing everything we need to do on the ice. The surgeon said from the second surgery to when she'll feel 100% fit would be 9 months.
To a year.
The best.
Yeah.
So, and we're 7 months now. Like, she's still got another 2 months, but we can do everything we need to do. So, so it's just going to get better from now on.
Yeah, yeah. I have a fantastic physio. She's kicked my butt. I often joke around saying she tries to kill me because she gives me so much work. I think she thinks I'm superhuman, but but I got through it. I'm very lucky. I have a really great supportive team around me, supportive family, and that they got me through it, and I've worked my butt off to get back. And when I look back at it now, I don't know how I did it. I was just in pain all day, every day, but people just said to me, look, you're going to have a bad knee now. So I just sort of accepted that. But now I don't have that same feeling. I think the Olympics kept me going. That's something that's so special to me, and I'm so proud that I've been to 2 Olympic Games. It's something that just means so much to me. So knowing that was so close really pushed me, and that was always in the back of my mind, and everything I did. Sometimes I would, if I was having a hard time or I didn't feel motivated in the gym because I knew it would be so long before I could compete again, I'd just sort of close my eyes and imagine competing again and that feeling again, and it would really get me going and almost make me well up.
We just basically said, we would hate for this to just be the end. We haven't come this far and worked this hard for an injury just to end the career and that's it. We haven't finished doing what we want to do, and I would hate something that's totally out of our control to decide that for us.
What is special about the Olympics is you get to compete for your country with other sports. So for us, it's the only time every 4 years that we get to be part of Team GB, and we're there with skiers, curlers, speed skaters. So it's nice to be in an environment that is very, Team GB friendly, and you all have each other's back, you're all supportive, and it's nice to kind of share stories because we all are high-level athletes and we all commit our lives to this.
The fact that it's every 4 years and the historical significance of it makes it really, really special. I think you almost get used to World Championships because every year, I mean, it's still the biggest thing each season, but then when the Olympics comes around, that's what everybody wants. We have lots of memories from Sochi and Vancouver. I think the opening ceremonies are always very special.
The opening ceremony in Vancouver, you know, it's this long day and you're all pumped up and there's a lot of waiting around for the athletes. You get just transported from this building to this building, and you know, when you've not done it before, you keep thinking, oh, this is it, we're going to walk out now, but then you're not, you're just in another waiting pool. And so when the time came that we were walking out, it had gone on for a long time, and then we stepped out and the sound of the roar of the crowd, I remember it just taking my breath away. And that memory will like stay with me forever. I think it was just,
yeah, hard to beat.
Yeah, amazing.
Our love is not a victory march. It's cold and it's a broken hallelujah. Hallelujah.
For Penny and Nick, it's the end of the most traumatic season of their lives. The injury which nearly ended Penny's career, followed by one setback after another, has meant they've missed the last 12 months of competition. Their dream of qualifying for the 2018 Winter Olympics now rests entirely on Oberstdorf.
The Nebelhorn Trophy this year is the Olympic qualification event, so there'll be a lot of, I'm sure, nervous people. It's a big deal. It's the last chance you get to qualify for the Olympic Games if you haven't done already. But for us, I think we're just going to look at it like, you know, any other competition. We're going to want to go and do as well as we possibly can, skate 2 strong, clean programs. We're trying to look ahead to the Olympic Games, and this is just a stepping stone in the process of getting there. So it's something we've got to do. We're kind of used to the pressure. It's going to be a little bit different having not competed for a year, but you know, it's just something we've got to do.
They're trying to play it down, but in reality, this is the last chance for Penny and Nick, and they are determined to come out fighting and show what they can do. With their Olympic dream hanging in the balance, they've called in iconic British skater Christopher Dean to choreograph their dance routine.
This is what I say when people say, what is ice dance? I say, it's what Torvill and Dean did. That's the best way.
That's not, yeah. Working with Christopher Dean was great. You know, he's a British skating icon, so to get the chance to actually work with him was fantastic.
I describe working with Christopher Dean a figure skating equivalent of a child going to Disneyland. I genuinely, I think it's like a dream come true. It's your idol who you've watched your whole life, who you aspire to be like, and then to have the opportunity to work with someone that you admire and respect and have them want to work with you too. And something we did really well was collaborate with him. You know, we kind of put our thoughts forward as well, and we worked together as a team, and yeah, it was great fun.
Christopher knows that Penny and Nick need to produce something really special, and so he's reached into his own back catalogue to create an updated version of Torvill and Dean's famous 1994 medal-winning Olympic rumba. Under the most intense pressure they've ever experienced, Penny and Nick produce the performance of a lifetime, thrilling the audience and scooping the board with the judges.
first place for Penny Coombs Nicholas Buckland from Great Britain. Sie erhalten im Kürtanz eine Punktzahl von 105,34 Punkten. They ran a total of 105.34 points.
They won both the short and free dance, securing their place at the Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang in 2018 and announcing to the world that they're back and better than ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of the winners.
I think we've sacrificed a lot, but I don't resent those sacrifices. Okay, I haven't lived a normal teenage life, for example, but I wouldn't want to. I love what I do, and I would much rather be in my shoes and do what I love every day.
Whenever we decide to retire from competitive skating, that's going to be a very strange thing because it does mean a lot. It's always going to be part of us.
I have been through so much throughout this sport. I've had illnesses and injuries and concussions and broken noses and broken bones and just so much, but I've kept going. So for me, that's how much it means to me.